Reese a couple of years ago, I was stunned that someone so young not only had a grasp of really fantastic cosplay work, but also that she was so self-aware from the get-go. And she has an amazingly supportive mother, and the funny thing is that you see young cosplayers and you think, well, obviously their parents are making their costumes for them. No. Reese does all of it, and to a level where she is learning techniques that people in their 40s and 50s look at and go, how the heck did she do that? It's amazing to me.
Alrighty, so Reese getting into cosplay really is tied into her reading. Back when she was in first grade, we wanted to kind of give her some help with her reading, so we hired a reading helper, a reading teacher during the summer, and she recommended that Reese start looking at graphic comics because the stuff she was reading, the chapter books, really weren't challenging her, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And so we took her to a comic book store and got her some comics, and she was just kind of blown away by the visual aspect of it. She's a creative girl, and that kind of caught her eye, but also the stories, and more importantly, the fact that a lot of them were girl-centric. That really caught her mind, and she got into the reading and kind of never stopped to this day. And that was 4 years ago. But through going to the comic book stores and keeping returning to places like Zeus Comics and Keith Comics, we noticed that there was a convention coming up, and I believe it was Fan Days in the fall, and this was probably 4 years ago. And so we decided to take her. We went on the Saturday. We all got tickets and went as normal non-costume people, and she was just blown away by the costumes, but especially by the girls. And she really, said, can we go back tomorrow? Can we go back tomorrow? And she wanted to dress up, but we really didn't have anything at the house other than just like a plastic Darth Vader mask, and she wore that and just had an absolute blast and said, can we come back again? And so we kind of looked it up and saw that there was another one in the spring, and that's when we started. And I believe the first costume she dressed up at was Rogue from X-Men, and her mom made the costume, and we got the wig and a little hair clip, so she had the white hair in there, and she went as Rogue, and it was just absolutely amazing. It's like a change in the girl.
What powers this child? Because I would really like to know, because if we could put this in, if I had half the motivation that Reese had, I could probably do everything I need to do and still have time to play video games. The kid she's a cyborg or something. We need to look into it, but we need to also watch her, because I'm pretty sure she'll attempt to take over the world if we're not careful.
Congratulations, Reese. I met you a few years ago, and you've pretty much been in my heart, in my mind, and in my heart ever since then. You do so much for kids with cancer through the Super Six. You do the most adorable costumes. You read, Miss Marvel. You read Marvel comics. You enjoy everything that a little girl should at her age, and I live vicariously through you day after day.
So I first met Reese Kirkham in February of last year at the Science Fiction Convention at the Ring Convention Center. Taffeta introduced us, and she was dressed like Kitty Pryde with Lockheed on her shoulder. I believe I mentioned that when we first spoke, and she was smiling from ear to ear, and I couldn't believe this kid. And she was glowing, and she looked up at Taffeta, and Taffeta was her inspiration. And so every time I've seen her since, she's had a costume that's been better than the last one. So I was impressed and honored when we became friends, and she asked me to do her makeup when she was Jareth from Labyrinth. And so I was like, this kid, what are you doing? And she's like, I want you to do this for me. And I was like, okay. And then when she found out even more about me, when she found out that I was a makeup artist, she was like, can you help me gather some toiletries and toys? I'm doing a toy drive. And I was like, what's the toy drive for? And she's like, this toy drive is for a group I lead. And I was like, what's the group? And she's like, it's the Super Six. And I was like, tell me about the Super Six. I was like, this sounds like a superhero group.
Well, the Super Six started kind of randomly because one of my friend's daughters was diagnosed with cancer, and Reese became friends with her. And she couldn't get her head around how somebody, you know, so close to her age was having such a different experience with childhood. And I remember I woke up one morning and she had a jar full of little pieces of paper, had all these ideas of things that she could do for children with cancer. And she just really tried to understand, you know, what cancer was and why it was affecting children. Then she got a group of her friends at school, and they all brainstormed together about how they could help, and came up with making buddy bags. They didn't really have it formulated yet, but they were like, you know, what can these kids have that we have? What can we bring to them to make them happy? And, you know, their toys and comics, and the things that they enjoy, they wanted to, you know, bundle up and take to the kids. And Reese would Skype back and forth to Lauren and ask, you know, some really hard questions of the things that she was going through. And it was really amazing to see kind of the transformation of this little girl becoming very empathetic for another child. She got her friends. They formed this group called the Super Six, and found another group called Wipe Out Kids Cancer, and they started drives getting just the bare essentials that you need when you go to the hospital, because when a child's diagnosed with cancer, they go immediately to the hospital and they are admitted to the hospital. So they don't have shampoo or conditioner or toothpaste, toothbrushes, you know, face wipes, notebooks. It's just a lot of information coming in. So this group of 6 little girls that were 9 at the time started these drives, and Reese started reaching out to the comic book world and went and talked to Richard at Zeus Comics and Keith at Keith's Comics and said, can you help me? And it was amazing, the outpouring that everybody came to her aid. And they had the bare essentials first and made buddy bags, and they made 125 buddy bags the first go around. And then that Christmas they did a donation drive for toys for the hospital, and just an outpouring at Zeus Comics of a bin that overflowed into boxes and boxes and boxes. And then they continued the buddy bag drives, and then she started getting all the comics, and Keith started collecting all the comics for from Free Comic Book Day, and then any other comics that they could get, and they started giving those to the hospital as well. So it's just kind of grown little by little.
Congratulations, Reese, on winning this award. There's nobody more deserving. It's been a great last few years watching you grow into your fandom, coming into the comic shop for the first time, discovering comics, discovering everything you love about sci-fi, watching you at Dallas Comic Con and some of the most fantastic costumes, working with the cosplay community, doing fun group costumes with Taffy Darling, and so many amazing things. But you go just beyond that as well, with your work with Team Super 6, when you got together with some of your classmates and you put together donation bins at several local businesses and collected toiletries and comics and small items for kids' families that are displaced due to emergency stuff at Children's Medical. It's pretty amazing. You also worked with Team Super 6 again this last year with a donation box that collected hundreds and hundreds of toys for Scottish Rite Hospital. There's nobody more deserving of this award of showing what we can do as a community. We're very proud of you, Reese.
The work that Reese and the Super 6 have done for Wipe Out Kids Cancer is astonishing. Generally, that kind of dedication to charity work, you find that in people in their college years, in their 20s, and it's not about age, it's about effort. And the awareness that they've brought for Wipe Out Kids Cancer has been phenomenal, and I'm always in awe of what she and the Super 6 are able to accomplish. And that's the definition of a superhero. It's someone who knows that there's something that the community needs, and they expend every bit of energy to make sure that that is done. And I could not be happier than to see Reese get this award.